Hello, I'm Robert, and today we're going to work through one of the Bob Ross paintings. It's called Black Seascape. I think you're going to enjoy it. It has a limited palette, and I think it's going to be some fun for you to do. So let me take my little guy down, and then I'll show you what we've got done already. I'll show you what the colors are first. So, as I said, we have a limited palette. So we have a black seascape, and we're going to add a little bit of difference to Bob's. We're going to add the mermaid to it. Bob always tells you, and when you go to his training class, he always says, or the instructors tell you, that you should always add your own personal touches to your painting. You shouldn't just copy a painting. You should put whatever you feel into it. Here, we're just giving you the techniques, and then you go from there. Conquer the world. So, we're going to have a little titanium white. We're going to put some phthalo blue in there, midnight black, dark sienna, Van Dyke, cad yellow, a little bit of phthalo green, and a bright red. So that's basically what our colors are going to be. We're going to use a palette knife. We're going to use a 1-inch knife and a filbert brush, and maybe a smaller liner brush too. So as you can see, as you go along, we'll go through and demonstrate how we're going to use those things. So either bring your brushes up, get your palette ready, and you can paint along, or just pull a cup of coffee up, sit back, relax, and enjoy this painting, because I think it's going to be, as I said, one you'll find a lot of value to, and the springboard into your other paintings. So let me take this down, and let me show you what I have done already. So I have my black canvas. We get the black canvas by painting it with gesso, black gesso. If you don't have black gesso, sometimes you can use an acrylic, but the gesso works quite well. You can also get these pre-painted, so you can get a black canvas already painted, and it makes it a little bit easier. So you might want to look into that. They're not too, they're inexpensive. So you might want to go that route too, rather than doing the black gesso, having to paint that on. When I was teaching classes, and when I teach a class, I was taking maybe 20 paintings or 20 canvases and painting them all with black gessos for the students to speed things along. And it takes a lot of time to do that, because you got to put it on, and then you have to let it dry completely. Sometimes overnight, sometimes just a couple of hours. So I'd be doing that, have 20 canvases around the garage or so. But now I usually just buy a black canvas. But in this case, we're kind of quarantined to the house, so I didn't have any black canvases, so I painted it with some black gesso. Then on top of that, I put a thin, even coat of liquid clear on top of it. That makes our colors flow better onto our canvas. So you want to put a very thin coat of liquid clear. And when I say thin, you put it on thin, and then you might even want to take a paper towel and just touch it and wipe off some of the shine to it. So you just work it into the canvas. So you might want to do that too. Well, you have to do that to make it so it doesn't start flowing down your canvas. So thin even coat of liquid clear. On top of that, I took a mixture of midnight black, phthalo blue, mixed it together to get a blue gray. This isn't, you decide how much blue you want it, how blue you want your canvas, how gray you want it. Sometimes with a dark, angry sea, you might want to have it more of the black with just a touch of the gray or blue. So you decide on what you want in there. They'll all be different when you do it. I have the titanium white over here, phthalo blue. I have a little bit of phthalo green we're going to put in the center here. And then I have some dark siennas, Van Dyke, and crimson and red over here. Some cads, some cad yellow, some yellow ochre. Again, crimson over here, red. And we're going to be using those basic colors today. Not too much of the green, it's just for a little bit of the highlights. So once again, I took my black blue mixture and made X strokes on here, went across it, right in the bottom, the same thing. I put this, before I put the paint on, I put the masking tape across here so I can get a nice horizon when I get done painting the top. So black blue down here, touch of green inside here where the eye of the wave is going to be, blue black over here. Now I've also put tape around the edges of my canvas. You may not want that. I do it because I like to see it a little, I like it framed when it's done. So that's an option that you don't have to do, but I've done it here. And you'll see. So now what we do is we got a wonderful, this is your happy little world. You make it whatever you want. This is your seascape. So you do it however you want to do it. But we'll give you some of the ideas, and then you can go from there. So I always say, look at that canvas and just imagine what it's going to look like when you're finished. You know, you're creating your world. So I come up here with my titanium white. I just want a little roll of paint at the end. So I pull this out. So I have that little roll. And then I come up to the canvas here. And I just determine this is our upper part. This is our sky portion. And it's divided into twos also. Not quite halfway up and not straight across. So I start over here and I just this is where our bottom cloud is going to be. That over there. My brightest part in that cloud or sky is going to be right here. So I'll take this and this is where I'll start because that's my brightest spot. So I'm going to set my down for a second. I'm going to come in here with my 1-inch brush, and I'm just going to, I'll dab a little bit of white in there, but I'm just going to hit the top, middle of our brightest spot, and I'm going to make X's, and I'm just going to drag that sky out, just little X's. I'm hitting on top. I don't want to lose all these dark spaces in here, so I don't want to just make it look like I'm painting a wall. So I'm going to have a little bit of these light parts in here. So this is the bottom part of our sky. Let's drag it out here. We're going to do a little more smoothing when we're done with this, but this is our first step. I'm going to clean my brush. Clean your brush in odorless paint thinner. And I have a waste paper basket over here on the side. And then I just have a wire rack in there, a rack that you can buy from the store or get it from bobross.com. They have the wire rack that you can use for this, as well as all the paints that you could use. They have even a nice supply kit for a beginners and an intermediary one too, where you'd have all your colors, you have your palette knife, you have the 1-inch brush, you even have a little disc on how to paint in there. So that's kind of a nice investment just to start out with. So I'm going to take a little bit more white at the end of here, and I'm going to come back in the center where I have that light source, and then I'm going to blend out a little bit more. Just put little X's on there. I don't want to go back into that center part. Quite yet. Okay, so that is basically our lower part of the sky. So now I'm going to come up top here, and I'm going to put a little background cloud over here. Come in here, little X's. That's a nice. Now I don't want to lose this little line here that I'm going to create in a minute. I need a space in between this lower section and the top section of black so it stands out. And as I said, if you wanted your sky a little more gray, you'd add a little more black. Okay. Again, I don't want to lose some of these values in between. Okay, I'm going to clean the brush again. And I'm going to come with my fan brush and we're going to build a nice fluffy cloud. So I pull out that fan brush just a little bit at the end. Okay. So I come over here in the sky and I just kind of twirl the very end of that brush, the corner of it, to get my cloud pattern. I don't want to press I'm pressing hard, but not super hard that I'm grinding. I don't want to grind and grind and grind away because I want to keep some of these fluffy, floaty, loose things in here in your clouds because clouds are rather free. I like to hang around. Love to look over the ocean. You might have a couple of little floaters down here. One here. Stringy one here. Okay, I'm going to set this down, this brush down. I'm going to take this clean, dry 1-inch brush, and again, using just this corner, and the base of the cloud. I don't want to hit the top part because I want to leave that nice and free up there. So I'm just going to kind of blend the base, very, very loosely touching that, barely touching the canvas. And you might have to clean your brush in between here, or just hit it with a paper towel. So I'm just blending the corner of the brush. And then taking the color off, I'm going to blend upward. I'm going to take kind of curvy sections to kind of fluff the clouds. I don't want to destroy the ends, but I'm going to fluff it a little bit, barely touch again, and just I'm going to just lift up. You're going to get a little bit of strings up here, but we're going to blend it across and we'll lose them in a minute. And then lightly pull across. I think that's kind of a, and clouds are usually flat on the bottom, often. So I think that's, I think we'll go with this cloud formation. You can put as many clouds as you wish in here. I'm going to lightly blend across the bottom. Smooth that out. So like I said, you have this nice little, it's called a shelf cloud. So you have this little black space in between here that makes them stand out quite nicely. Okay. Okay, so with that, I'm going to clean my brushes again in a minute. Set my palette down. Grab my paper towel and clean up a little bit. And we're going to take the tape off, as I said. This will now give us a nice straight horizon. Cleaning my brush out. And you have a choice of how you're going to do this portion now. You can either use your fan brush, or you could come in here with a palette brush, a palette knife, and make what we're going to do next. I'm going to use a fan brush in this case. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of lift some of the color that we have below into this line where the tape was. That gets a little bit of the liquid clear up there. Okay. Then I'm going to load my fan brush with just at the very end a titanium white, and we're going to make with a little bit of a rocking stroke, just about an inch or so of distant waves going across that horizon. These are way back. I used to live, as I mentioned in other videos, in Maine, and these nice rocky seas were quite common. You know, when you live right on the coast, you can go out to a lighthouse and just like look over the ocean and just imagine your ancestors in the past, or imagine the British coming over in their ships. You're the lookout, and we had a nice lighthouse right in. We had a couple of them in Portland, Maine. So you could go up to the lighthouse, climb the rocks, and just look out over the ocean. Pack a little picnic basket and enjoy your time. Okay, so these are the distant little waves that we have. So I'm taking my clean brush again, and I'm just going to smooth them a little bit. Pull them just a little bit. I don't want to destroy. I just want them a little bit softer. Okay. And set that down. Now we're going to do our nice big Maine wave. So in this case, I'm going to take my fan brush again. Okay, you got that little roll of paint or little tip of white at the end of that. And before I do that, I think I'm going to give Bob a break here. I'm going to take this up here. You can really be behind the curtains now. You can kind of rest back there. So now I'm going to just take and build my major wave where it's going to be. So I'm going to start over here, come up, just a wave coming up, and then maybe this is our main wave. And he comes down here. Okay. So that is our main wave. And I'm going to come, grab a little bit more, and I'm going to put another one over here. These are just our defining lines. This is where we're going to have the roll in the eye of the wave right here. So that's where that's going to be. So now that we have that, we're going to take our fan brush, and we're just going to pull back. So in here, we're just going to kind of roll, pull back. Catch that? Or you can go this way. This is nice too. We're just hitting the end of that and just pulling up. Come over here, do the same thing. Just going to pull it back. Top one. Bottom, and just pull that back. Just kind of almost a half circle type motion. Gently pulling. You might take and add another one over here. And then just pull that. It's almost a featherly type stroke. So you're getting a lot of wave actions in here. Now, you don't want to lose all that black. That black helps you define your wave. Okay. Now I'm going to clean this brush out a little bit. And set it aside. And I'm going to come in here with a filbert brush. Kind of a rounded brush. And I'm going to take some more white, load it up, and I'm just going to hit the eye of that wave right in the center here. See, I'm hitting it with that green. And just kind of roll it out. Take a little bit more white. And get that nice green in color here that I told you about. You could also do that center with your finger and just smooth it out. Then I'm going to take my brush, my 1-inch brush clean, and I'm just going to pull some of this and then to form the bottom part of our next wave. Okay, now I'm just going to take the corner of this brush and blend just a little bit. I've got a little bit of texture inside this part here, and I kind of like that. So I'm going to say this is going to be my little bit of a change. But it's important that you don't lose all of your all of your darks here, because those dark spaces are important. They define the waves. Okay. Hope you can see that. Okay, so you've got a pretty nice action, a nice violent type center. Now I'm going to clean my brush again, my filbert brush. And I'm going to make a little bit of a shadow pattern. So I'm going to come up here with some red. We'll come up here with some red and a touch of that blue. And I get a little bit of a purpley violet color. A little bit of white. Okay. Touch more blue. Okay, so I'm going to, just with the corner of this brush, I'm loading it up. And I'm just going to come at the top here, top of that wave, and I'm going to protect that black, but I'm going to just come up here and just kind of roll the corner of the brush, some dark values around it. I want to keep that black. Now I'm going to come with my fan brush again. And I want to kind of make a nice wave that goes over it. So we're going to come across the top here and hit it. Clean my brush first. Clean that brush up so I have that ready. So I'm taking my brush again, my nice fan brush. I'll get a little bit of paint at the end of that. I'm going to come over here and just go the wave that comes this way. Okay. A little bit stronger white on here. Okay. Then I'm going to come and load that back up again. With my fan brush, and I'm going to go above my shadow color and just squiggle in some nice splashy highlights. Okay. Then I'm going to come back. I grab that same color that I have down here, the same shadow pattern, and I'm going to roll over here, and I'm just going to pick up some of that color. This is going to be some nice splashy areas. And roll that the water really pretty violent, so it's splashing it up. So set that back. Come back with my white, and I'll just I'll add a few more in here. Take the corner. We don't want to overblend these. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brushes. You get to be quite a brush cleaner on this painting. So I've got that number 1 inch brush again, and it's clean. And once again, we're just going to hit very softly some of this mixture, soften it. We don't want to overblend. We come down in this section above the eye and soften that. Blend those two together. Just the corner of the brush. Little tiny strokes. Okay. Now, I like to come back at this junction here. I'm going to take my fan brush. I'm going to put it in some white. This is one of my options. You don't have to do this, but I like to do this. I like to take the end and just give it a little bit of a splatter. I do a lot of this when I do watercolors. Splatter can hide a lot of mistakes. In this case, it really looks nice with this ocean. Really kind of looks a little more turbulent when you put that in. So our next step, we're going to clean our brush out once again. And I'm going to use, once again, I'll use the fan brush. And I'm going to come in here with this mixture here. I'm going to have some browns. This is a Van Dyke, a little sienna, basically a dark. Maybe I'll grab a little black in that even. So I mix that up. Then I'm going to come up here and we're going to make mountain. This is basically just putting some rock formations on here. Just getting the dark in first. This is where our mermaid is going to sit. So we want to give some nice ledges here. For her to relax and enjoy. Come down here. Maybe we'll come over and build a ledge over here. Okay. All right, we'll take a little bit of a light color, put on top of these ledges here. And then I'm going to grab my palette knife. I'm going to grab a little bit of white, pull it out over here. A little bit of a brown, and even our nice bright red. So I've got a nice marble pattern in here. I'm going to cut across, get that little row of paint at the end, barely touch, and just pull down. We're just getting some indication of some rock formations. And we don't want to press hard on this because we want it to be nice and marbly. Okay. Okay, so that becomes our rock formation on the right hand side. Bring it right down into the water. Okay, I'm going to set my palette down, clean my palette knife, and I'm going to come back with my fan brush. I'm going to go into some white paint again, and we're just going to build some splashes. You take this fan brush, and you can lift up or you can lift down to indicate some splashes. Might even go up into here a little bit. So this is where the water is really climbing up. Okay. This time is a good time to also come back and do a light splatter. Okay. All right, let me clean that brush up again. Clean my fingers. And then we're going to come back with a clean fan brush. Try. Grab some more white. And I'm going to come across over here and start building another section of waves. Over here, drag it down, pull that color out. Maybe one over here. Drag this down here a little bit, making that big trough. Come over here. Maybe here. We'll have one that goes here too. We really want this to be rolling. Turning. But we don't want to lose, we do not want to lose all those darks down there. Okay. Now, Bob always likes to give people friends, so we need to give that rock, nice big rock, we need to give him a little friend also. So let's come. I'm going to load this fan brush up with a little bit of black, and we'll come over here and we'll make another little rock formation out here. Now you could do this with a palette knife or the filbert brush. So I'm just starting with a little bit of dark. Then I'm going to come back with my palette knife. And I'm going to get some of these rock colors here that we built. White. We still want it marbly. Cut across that little row of paint, barely touch, and pull it out. Maybe on this left side it'll be a little bit darker. The sun isn't hitting that. So we have our little bit of a rock formation under there. All right, let me clean up the palette knife. We'll pull our clean fan brush, clean and dry fan brush. We'll get that little bit of white paint at the end, and we'll do some splash things on here too. Just kind of lifting up with the knife or the fan brush. Okay. So he is sitting in the sea, enjoying the view. I clean my brush up a little bit again. And then I'm going to come with a liner brush, very thin, and we're going to just add a few, this holds a lot of paint, I'm going to put a few little highlights on the top of the waves. I'm going to scribble a little bit of foam patterns, splash patterns. And across top. And I'm going to come back with my fan brush and just catch a few more of these top ones. A few more waves splashing. Okay, that'll give us a little bit more definition to our waves. Okay. So we have our nice rock formations down there. We have the sky in there. So I suppose it's time that we throw in our observer of all this wonderful stuff that we've made. So we'll come and we'll work on this. We'll work on the nice little mermaid that we have hanging out here. See if we can get her in here. So we'll put her way up here. So we're going to build her body up here. Come back. Put her down here. Let her enjoy what's going on in the sea. Kind of just resting on the rocks. My palette knife. kind of up there just waiting for the next ship to come in. Maybe signaling the ships. Okay. Just enjoying the day. Okay. Okay, so she's got a wonderful day to look out on the sea. So let's take the tape off. And we'll see how it looks with our border. As I mentioned, the border is optional. When you have your black gesso on here, sometimes it's a little bit tricky to take off. Especially if you leave it on overnight. We'll just get this final little piece off here. So we have just a tiny little piece down here. Okay. So as you can see, I kind of like this white border on here. With it, if you get a little bit of spots on here, you can come back with some white gesso and do it and clean it up a little bit more. But the most important part now is to just load your little liner brush up here, come down here, and just sign your name. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We have other ones on our YouTube channel, but I think this is one you'll really enjoy. It's kind of easy for you to do, and you can have it with or without a mermaid, or add whatever else you want in there. Maybe you want a ship in the background. So it's just a springboard for you. So I hope you get your paints out, get started, and enjoy it. Thank you very much. Look forward to our video next week and seeing you. And once again, I'm Robert, and we're going to have one every week on here for you to enjoy. It'll either be a watercolor or a Bob Ross painting. So thank you very much. Take care.